Prince William stood motionless beneath the towering stone archway of the palace, the morning light casting long shadows across the polished floor. Outside, photographers waited behind the gates, hoping to capture another ordinary royal appearance. Inside, however, something entirely unexpected was unfolding. No official announcement had been made. No palace spokesperson had stepped forward. Yet whispers had already begun spreading through the corridors. According to members of the household staff, an unusual request had been delivered directly to Prince William only moments after breakfast, a request that, if accepted, would quietly alter one of the family's most symbolic royal traditions. But what happened next surprised everyone. Instead of agreeing, William calmly declined. Not with anger, not with raised voices, but with a level of quiet certainty that left the room completely silent. And before anyone could question his decision, he did something no one had anticipated. He personally took Princess Charlotte by the hand and escorted her toward one of the most protected places connected to the future of the monarchy, the royal trust. Whether this simple walk represented tradition, protection, or something much deeper became the question everyone inside the palace was suddenly asking. Before we continue, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. If you were Prince William, would you have made the same decision? The palace had awakened earlier than usual. Staff moved carefully through the historic hallways, preparing for what had originally been scheduled as a routine private engagement involving several senior members of the family. The royal trust was not merely another ceremonial institution. Within palace tradition, it represented continuity, history, responsibility, and, perhaps most importantly, preparation for future generations. Only a limited number of royals were invited to participate in its private educational visits. Every appearance there carried symbolic meaning. Princess Charlotte, despite her young age, had gradually become one of the family's brightest public figures. Her confidence during official events had earned admiration from royal supporters around the world. She carried herself with remarkable composure. Observers often noted that she appeared comfortable balancing childhood curiosity with royal discipline. Because of that, today's visit was expected to remain quiet and uncomplicated. Until a message arrived. A senior aide approached Prince William carrying a sealed folder. Inside was a request reportedly submitted through palace channels. The request suggested that Queen Camilla wished to accompany Princess Charlotte during the visit, describing it as an opportunity to strengthen family unity while introducing another generation to one of the monarchy's most respected institutions. On paper, nothing appeared controversial. It sounded reasonable, even thoughtful. Several advisors assumed William would approve it without hesitation. Instead, he slowly closed the folder, looked around the room, and simply said, "Not today." The words were calm, measured, almost gentle, but everyone immediately understood that the discussion had ended. There would be no debate, no negotiation, no reconsideration. One advisor cautiously asked whether another arrangement should be proposed. William smiled politely before answering. "Charlotte already has everything she needs for today's visit." The room became noticeably quieter. No one spoke. No one challenged him. Palace staff had worked alongside William long enough to recognize when his decisions reflected something carefully considered rather than emotional reaction. This was clearly one of those moments. Meanwhile, Princess Charlotte remained completely unaware of the growing tension unfolding just beyond the drawing room. She was focused on something entirely different: history. Earlier that morning, she had been reading about previous generations of young royals who had gradually learned their future responsibilities through similar visits. She had asked thoughtful questions over breakfast. Who had visited before? What artifacts would she see? How were traditions preserved? William had answered each question patiently, encouraging her natural curiosity. To him, these moments mattered, not because cameras would document them, but because genuine understanding could never be rushed. A child's relationship with history deserved authenticity, not performance. As preparations continued, another palace official quietly approached William. "Your Royal Highness, should we inform Her Majesty of the revised arrangements?" William paused briefly. "Yes." "And should we explain the reason?" William considered the question for several seconds. There is no conflict to explain. The official nodded respectfully. I understand. The response itself revealed much about William's approach. He refused to create unnecessary confrontation. Equally, he refused to surrender decisions involving his children's upbringing. That balance had become increasingly noticeable over recent years. Publicly respectful, privately protective. It was a combination many palace observers quietly admired. Elsewhere inside the residence, reports of William's decision began circulating among senior staff. No dramatic arguments followed. No emotional exchanges erupted. Instead, conversations focused on protocol. Had similar decisions happened before? Who traditionally accompanied young royals? Would today's change establish a new precedent? No one possessed definitive answers. Royal history rarely operated through absolute rules. It evolved through individual choices made quietly behind closed doors. Today's decision appeared destined to become another one of those moments. Princess Charlotte soon entered the reception hall dressed elegantly but simply. She smiled warmly at everyone she passed. Several staff members couldn't help smiling back. Despite growing public attention surrounding her, she retained the relaxed confidence of an inquisitive young girl eager to learn. William greeted her with unmistakable pride. Ready? Charlotte nodded enthusiastically. I've been ready for 20 minutes. William laughed. I believe you have. As they prepared to leave, Charlotte glanced toward the entrance. Is anyone else joining us? For a brief moment, William looked at her thoughtfully. Then he answered with complete sincerity. Today, I thought it would be nice if we shared this experience together. Charlotte smiled immediately. I like that. The simplicity of her answer seemed to erase whatever tension had existed moments earlier. Sometimes, palace life became so focused on ceremony that people forgot the importance of ordinary family moments. This would become one of them. Outside, vehicles waited quietly. Security teams completed final checks. The route had been carefully planned to minimize public disruption while allowing the visit to proceed according to schedule. As William and Charlotte stepped toward the vehicle, palace employees lined the corridor almost instinctively. Not because protocol demanded it, because they recognized the quiet significance of what they were witnessing. A father choosing to personally guide his daughter through one of the monarchy's most meaningful educational traditions. There was something reassuring about it. No headlines, no speeches, just presence. As the car doors closed, Charlotte looked out the window. She watched the palace slowly disappear behind them before turning back toward her father. Dad. Yes. Why is today so important? William smiled gently. Because one day you'll discover that being part of history isn't about wearing crowns. Charlotte listened carefully. It's about understanding the people who wore them before us. She nodded thoughtfully, and remembering that every generation has a responsibility to leave something better behind. Charlotte looked back out the window once more. The city moved peacefully around them. Neither of them noticed that inside the palace, conversations about William's quiet decision were only just beginning. Some believed he had simply protected a father-daughter moment. Others suspected something much larger lay beneath the surface. And by the time the Royal Trust's historic gates came into view, it had become clear that today's visit would leave an impression reaching far beyond the ancient walls waiting ahead. As the gates of the Royal Trust opened, William rested a reassuring hand on Charlotte's shoulder before they stepped inside together. There were no cameras, no speeches, and no grand ceremony, only a quiet lesson passed from one generation to the next. Charlotte looked around with wonder, listening carefully as her father spoke about duty, integrity, and earning respect through service rather than status. In that moment, the visit became far more than a royal tradition. It became a father's promise to prepare his daughter with wisdom and compassion. And for those who later heard the story, one message stood above all else. The strongest legacy is built through guidance, not grandeur.